Hi, my name is Alyssa Townsend, and I am a student at the University of Houston downtown. Today I'm going to be reading the book, The Copper Lady, by Alice Ross and Kent Ross. I chose this book because not only does it give you a rich history of the Copper Lady, or as we know her today, the Statue of Liberty, but it's a story about a young orphan boy who actually chooses the Copper Lady over his own freedom. So not only is this story factual and historical, but it is definitely very heartfelt and entertaining. So here goes. The Copper Lady. "Boy," Louis Malet shouted, "have you been to that statue again?" Andre tried to answer, "Yes, but I did my work." Malet grabbed Andre by the arm and yelled, "No supper for you if I catch you sneaking off again. Now get that donkey and load that cart." Andre shoveled the heavy coal as he worked. He thought about the beautiful Copper Lady. He pictured her shining eyes and the torch she held. Andre's parents had died 2 years before when Andre was 9 years old. A neighbor, Louis Malet, had taken him in. In return, Andre was supposed to help Malet deliver coal. Before long, Andre was doing all the work. Malet gave him scraps to eat and a spot in the barn to sleep, but no pay and little freedom. Still, no matter what Malet did, Andre would keep visiting the lady. The next day, before his rounds, Andre picked an apple. He carried it in his pocket to make Josephine, the donkey, go faster. Finally, he dumped his last load of coal. Then he hurried to the shop where workers were making the statue. She was a gift from the French people to the American people. Some called her Liberty Enlightening the World, or the Statue of Liberty for short. To Andre, she was the lady. Andre stopped in the wide doorway. He loved the smells of sawdust and steam, plaster and wood, fire and iron. Sometimes he helped the men. Today he pumped the squeaking bellows for the iron workers. They were bending red-hot iron bars to form the lady's skeleton. He also carried nails for the carpenters. They were building wooden frames and molds for the copper. Most of all, Andre loved to watch the coppersmiths. Ping, pang, pong, rang their hammers as the men pounded sheets of copper. They turned the copper into folds of the lady's robe and her reddish-brown skin. The coppersmiths made her come alive. Andre felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Frederic Auguste Bartholdi, the man in charge of the statue. "Back again, I see," he said. "Yes, sir," Andre answered. "May I hammer today?" "I can't pay another coppersmith," Bartholdi replied. "I will work for free," Andre said, hoping for his chance. "All right, then, you may try," Bartholdi said. Andre found part of a wooden mold, a hammer, and a scrap of copper. Watching the coppersmith, he began to carefully tap the thin copper sheet into the mold. "You have a good touch, Andre," Bartholdi said later. "Tomorrow you can work on the lady." The next day, Andre carried 2 apples. Josephine moved as fast as she could. Soon he was pounding the copper again. "She's almost ready to go to America, isn't she?" Andre asked Bartholdi. "Yes, but the Americans still need money to build the pedestal for her to stand on," he said. "How would you like to climb up to the lady's crown?" Behind the shop, Bartholdi unlocked a door that led into the statue's head, which was already finished. Andre and Bartholdi climbed the steps to her crown. The watercolor illustrations are really nice. I'm sorry I haven't shown any so far. Andre boosted himself into the crown's rim. The workers below looked like toy soldiers. "Monsieur Bartholdi," Andre asked, "why are you giving the lady to the Americans? Couldn't we keep her?" "She is a symbol of friendship between France and America," Bartholdi said. "Both countries have fought to gain the freedom for everyone to live and work as they please. The lady will remind us all to hold on to that freedom." When they climbed down, the sun was low in the sky. It would soon be dark. Andre hurried Josephine through the streets, but Malay was waiting. "You're late again," he barked. "No bread and cheese for you tonight." As the days grew colder, Andre worked longer hours, often past dark. He was sometimes hungry, and his ragged coat could not keep out the icy winds. He made sure he came home on time, but he visited the lady often. He helped beat the thin copper sheet that became her little finger. Andre laughed when he looked at it. Her little finger was 7 feet long. One day the next spring, Andre stood beside Bartholdi. They gazed up at the lady. She was finally complete. From her torch to her toes, she gleamed in the sun. "Oh, lady," Andre said, "how beautiful you are." A year passed before the Americans finally sent for the lady. One morning, Andre stopped Josephine in front of the market. A newsboy stood waving papers. "Read about the Statue of Liberty," he shouted. "What about her?" Andre asked. "She's being taken down to be shipped to America. That's what," the boy answered. That night in the barn, Andre lay on his hard mat thinking about the lady. He would never see her again. He tried to imagine what America was like. He had heard stories of how young men could earn a good wage and make a new start there. If only he could go with. Andre sat up suddenly. He had an idea. It just might work. Andre hid behind a row of barrels. Had the sailors seen him? Back in Paris, workers had taken the lady apart to put her in more than 200 wooden crates. Andre had followed the crates onto the train to the ocean port. Now the last crate was loaded onto the warship. If he didn't get aboard soon, the lady would leave without him. Andre took a deep breath, then he sprang into a hard run up the gangplank, crouching behind a pile of rope. He waited, listening. His heart beat wildly. From behind him, Andre heard voices. Two men walked closer. Andre held his breath and tried to sink into the shadows. The men passed without seeing him. Now he had to find a good hiding place. Looking around, Andre saw a ladder that led below deck. He crawled to it and climbed down. Now he was in the ship's hold where the cargo was stored. In the dim light, he could barely see the crates. They had been tied to the sides of the ship. Quietly, he settled between two of them. As the ship jerked into motion, Andre whispered, "We're off to America, lady." For 2 weeks, Andre rode silently in the gently rocking hold. At night, he slipped above deck to the ship's kitchen for water and scraps of food. One night, as he was returning to the hold, Andre heard boards creaking behind him. Someone was following him. They could hear sailors mumbling. "There must be a thief here somewhere," one of them said. Suddenly, the door to the hold crashed open with a bang. The ship heaved and rolled. Wind whistled. "Up deck! Storm's coming!" the sailors cried as they stumbled upon the ladder. Andre breathed easier. But then the ship began to rise and dip, higher and higher each time. Crates strained against ropes, groaning and whining. Cold seawater dripped onto Andre's neck. All at once the ship flew up like a wild horse. Andre tumbled across the hold. He pulled himself up. Crack! Snap! One of the ropes was breaking. With the next roll of the ship, that crate would slide into the others. The lady might be damaged. Andre grabbed at the rope, trying to retie it, but it was stretched too tight. He started for the ladder, then stopped. He knew that terrible things happened to stowaways who were found out. He might be sent to prison, or worse, sent back to Malay. The ship tilted again, higher and higher. The loose crate shifted and bumped against two other crates. One of its boards split. This time Andre climbed the ladder. The lady was more important than his freedom. Up on deck, roaring waves blasted the ship. Rain stung Andre's face. He stumbled toward a sailor. "Below," he called into the wind. "A rope has broken into the hold." The sailor shouted orders. Whistles sounded. Two sailors followed Andre below. With strong, quick fingers, they tied up the loose crates. The lady was safe. When the storm ended, Andre was taken to the captain. "So this is our stowaway," the captain said. "You will work as a cabin boy and then return to France." Andre's face fell as the sailors led him toward the door. Suddenly he shook free and cried, "Wait, sir! I only wanted to go to America with the statue, and I told about the loose crates." The captain asked, "What about your parents?" "I have no parents," Andre said, "and my master was cruel. But Bartholdi let me work on the lady. I hammered copper for her hand. I will earn my living in America as a coppersmith." The captain was listening now, and Andre told him about the statue. He described her flowing robes, her crown, and her torch. "She stands for freedom, sir," Andre said. "Freedom for people to live as they wish." The captain thought for a moment, then he turned to the sailors and said, "Get this boy a mop and a bucket. He may be a coppersmith in America, but for now he is a cabin boy." Hope filled Andre's heart. He would stay with the lady in America. With a smile on his face, Andre headed for the deck. The end.